The Society for International Development, SID, is an international institution comprising of over 3,000 individual members and corporate and institutional members. And its main interest is in development issues, policy and governance, research, and most importantly, dialogue.
Created in 1957, SID became a focal point for many leading figures in the field of development. 5 decades later, SID is a global network with 3,000 members in all continents and 45 local chapters. SID was a pioneer in developing concepts such as human development, women's empowerment, environment and sustainable livelihoods. Convinced that the economic aspect of development was not enough, SID's approach has always been holistic and multidisciplinary.
Que el tema no podía ser abordado, primero, solamente por economistas, o por sociólogos, o por politólogos, o por practicantes de la economía, o por políticos, sino por todos.
In 2007, SID celebrated its 50th anniversary with an international congress in The Hague, regional celebrations in Africa, Asia and the Americas, and a special issue of its journal, Development.
But this 50th anniversary congress is exactly meant not to skip the concept of development altogether, but to reconcile the dichotomies of development.
And I'm very happy to see also that SID has taken up the motto of convivencia. It does not only mean cohabiting, coexisting, being juxtaposed. It means experimenting the other.
If you want to study the position of the poor, you have to study the rich. You have to study the lifestyle of the rich. You have to study the situation of those who have made it, because that has consequences for the lifestyle and the possibilities for survival of the poor.
At the core of SID's work, there is a commitment to social change, gender equality, civil society participation, and sustainable development.
The problem is that it is the same growth that is responsible for the poor distribution that is taking place.
Chief among SID's global programs is the journal Development. First printed in 1957, Development has always aimed to bridge the gap between development theory and practice and give a space to connect mainstream development policy and research with activism and alternative thinking.
We need to look at poverty and richness from another angle. And poverty should not only be looked from the economic lens, but looked at from the lens of the other vast sources of richness, that is of knowledge, of wisdom, of systems, of pluralism, of tolerance. Those are the qualities that should define a rich from a poor country.
SID is also carrying out important work on migration and development. The research, carried out in partnership with CHESPI, aims to investigate the nexus between migration and development and to identify policy options for both sending and receiving countries. Gender is a core component of all SID's work.
For me, I think the gender approach is probably one of the most innovative in development. It's certainly one I've been devoted to for the last 20 years. And I must say SID has been one of the few international NGOs working on development that has always taken gender very seriously.
Regional programs include important work carried out in East Africa, where SID has a regional office in Nairobi. SID has been a pioneer in the use of future-based scenarios as tools to analyse the present situation and possible alternatives for the future.
As SID, the value that we can bring to these countries is to help people understand their histories, understand the characters of their nations, understand the forces that are shaping them, so that they are better able to make decisions about their futures, collective futures.
Work in East Africa also focuses on inequality and on gender and development. SID is also active in South Asia.
The SID-SAN is actually a network of South Asia members of SID. It came together from two programmatic approaches that we've been doing. One is sustainable livelihoods, and the other one is gender and reproductive health. So how we put them together is to think about, well, what's a burning issue now in South Asia that affects both the sort of gender issue and the sustainable livelihoods issue, and it was political conflict.
SID's European programme centres on the role of the European Union in development, with a special focus on new member states.
The key word could here be the willingness of a new generation of leaders in the South together, yes, together with Europe. Responsible Europe. Others say responsive Europe.
Activities are carried out in North America through the Washington and the Ottawa-Gatineau chapters. In Latin America, SID has a strong network thanks to its past Sustainable Livelihoods programme and to the activities of its Argentinian chapters. Local activities range from the organisation of seminars to awareness-raising campaigns to lecture series to fundraising events. The role of local chapters is a vital component of SID, as it provides it with solid roots in the South and legitimacy. Where to now? What lies ahead for SID?
Do we have the courage to challenge current notions? And that's what makes SID different from others.
But for me personally, I'd really like to see SID being able to place itself back into the international arena, so that it's a player not only with, let's say, the UN, but also really linking up with the World Social Forum and with people who are testing, let's say, what globalization is about.
In SID's debate on these issues and in the next 50 years, let us keep in mind Mahbub. Too often, it is not intellectual brilliance which is lacking, it is intellectual courage.